Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, why not like, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Join the BTP army. I think we're around about 90 strong now, so we're pushing that big 100. Final push for the England games. Maybe we might get there. As always, I am joined by my co-host Ty, the Italian stallion, and today we're going to be discussing Tuesday's match. There's a little game against Germany. We're also going to be previewing Saturday's mammoth quarterfinal against the Ukraine. So I don't know about you, Ty, but at around about 4 o'clock, I bust out of work, raced home, of course, hit every traffic light along the way. And I actually intended on watching the game at one of the fan parks, like the local one in Middlesbrough. But in the end, I hit every light on the way home, and it got to about 10 to 5, and I could hear, the crowd bubbling. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to get a can, and I'm going to just watch it in front of the TV. And it was amazing. What about yourself? And while you're there, you've got a nice little afro popping up there. What's that?
I thought thank you for noticing. I thought now that we're going big time, we've got to get a proper microphone in, haven't we? Don't people
Absolutely.
fucking around with our shitty audio, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is just testing, making sure it's right. I feel like I'm a pop star as well using this, and it's I've looked at you and just to let everyone know that is not Kristian's, that is his girlfriend, who is a world-known superstar on YouTube. So, he's not got the same setup as me. I've gone out my own way. I've set this beautiful little mic up just for you guys can hear our superb podcast. But yeah, just going back to your question, what happened on Tuesday? Unbelievable, brilliant. I had a few that lads on the previous show. I had a few of the lads around from the footy team for the game. Got around, everyone was around for about 4:30, 4:15-ish. Set up outside, weather were beautiful. Got some food in as well. It was just a really, really good do. And then we, obviously, when England scored, we cheered. And then 20 seconds, we got a pub about 200 yards down the road. 20 seconds later, they cheered. They must have been watching it on iPlayer or some shit. I just happened delayed. And then obviously scored second one as well. We realised, all right, yeah, they're behind. But no, it was brilliant. It was a really great day for the country, because it wasn't just for football fans, it was just for the nation. So whenever England played a major tournament, it just gets the whole country together and everyone's get together, even if you're not a football fan or an England supporter for that matter. It's just good to get everyone together.
It's funny that you say about the delay. I seem to have an internet connection that doesn't. I am the one that's being delayed effectively, and there was an early chance in the England game, or something must have happened. I can't remember what exactly happened, but I heard my next door neighbours, and they had a few people around, and they were like, "Ooh," and I was like, "It's not happened yet. What's coming?" So, in the end, what I did was I had to turn my TV up to 95. Just so I could drown out the noise. Obviously, the missus was coming down asking me, "What's going on? You got to turn it down." I was like, "Put your headphones on." I can't hear them next door, but luckily didn't hear anything. But apparently they were very loud, so it was a good job that I did turn it up. But yeah, like you say, the atmosphere was brilliant. Like all day at work, everybody's building up to it, and everybody's asking, giving your opinion, what would you do, formations, all the type of stuff. I said, check out Beating the Press podcast. Look at what they should be doing. On the way home, I was driving, and there's like a little bridge on the way to us, and the traffic lights must have stayed on for around about a good 30 seconds longer than what they normally do, and everybody's backed up, and then people start beeping the horns, and then out of nowhere somebody started playing the Three Lions the Three Lions song. It's coming home, and I shit you not, everybody started beeping the horns, blasted it even louder, and then somebody got out of their car. Bear in mind, we're practically on a motorway, and he was dancing around his car. Oh, it was so good. It was like the atmosphere was brilliant.
The country needed it after the last year and a half. Do you know what I mean? It's just been, you needed something like this to happen. The fact we had more fans there as well, there was a proper atmosphere. It was only half full, but there was a proper atmosphere. You could feel it. You could see it in the players. The players were nervous at the start, and I mean, we've obviously knocked Southgate quite a bit. He's a pragmatic manager. And I don't think there's any going away from that. He is a pragmatic manager. But I think the way he's dealt with the press, I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Every question comes back, he just bats it away. And I think he's found a way how England I've got a chance of winning the tournament, and that's by being really defensive. Not defensive, being defensively strong. Now, you look at his attacking, he seems to play, right, okay, I'm going to have 3 attackers and that's it. You know, those 3, Sterling and Kane, in and another. If you're not up for it, you're getting hooked, which I think is absolutely, you know, it's fine. He's obviously gone with 3 at the back, and we did mention on our last one, there's a chance he could marry it up, but everyone was like, no. The other great thing about Southgate is he does not listen to any of the so-called pundits or Twitter or newspaper or, you know, shouting for Grealish, shouting to play 4-3, shouting to be overly attacking, shouting to play one holding midfield. He just ignores all that noise, and he's so trusts his own process and the way he wants to be. He reminds me a lot of Mourinho, you know, the way his pragmatic approach. He's obviously got a better manner about him than Mourinho, but, you know, pragmatic in his approach to the game, clear in his thought process of how he knows his team's going to win, or how he knows the best opportunity for his team to win, and that's by not conceding a goal.
Yeah.
And I feel
like he's learning on the job, and he seems to be learning lessons really quick, taking on board ups, downs. You know, he's kind of adapting at the moment. I feel like we don't really have a definitive style as of yet. We're kind of playing each game totally differently, and we're adapting to the opposition. Obviously, we'll get a bit more of a style once we're, you know, more of an established group, because this is still like a relatively young group. So that'll come.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point you made there about England don't have any patterns of play. I watch them, I don't see any definitive patterns of play from them, you know, or a style of play or what they want to do. They seem to be defensively strong. It's almost like 30 years ago, if you saw an Italian team play like England, you'd be like, yeah, they're doing well. This is a proper tournament team. Do you know what I mean? That's how they've turned, and they've become a bit more hardened. And when we used to watch, you know, your German teams of yesteryear, when they were really strong and disciplined, you know, we wouldn't say, oh, they're not flashy. We'd be like, yeah, they get the job done. And that's where England are at the moment. I mean, I still think England, that's the first big nation they've beat since Southgate's been in charge. But I think the caveat is that is a Polish German team for the last 5-6 years. So I think people have got to, they've still got an unbelievable good chance of getting to the final because the way the draws worked out. The toughest, I mean, to say the toughest game will be Denmark or Czech Republic, and that's including Germany on the side of the draw. So the obviously the tougher ones will come from the final. So how do you? Question I've got for you is: do you think Southgate will change? Do you think he's absolutely happy for them to go through every game as they are, pretty pragmatic? Even against the weaker teams, they were pragmatic and defensive. Thoughts?
Well, I just want to go back real quick at what you said there about England being defensively sound, and like I couldn't agree more. But if you think of how many teams have won tournaments where they've absolutely swept away the opposition, you can only really think of one in our lifetime. You know, you can think of Spain, free-flowing football where they're just absolutely battered to everybody. But the majority of the time, when you win tournaments, you've normally got probably the best defence. You know, and you grow into the tournament and you gradually get better. And I feel like that's what England's doing. We haven't pulled up any trees by any means, but we are gradually getting better. The opposition that we're putting away are slightly better. Like you said, the German team weren't a German team of the past. They're kind of a shell of the team, what we would normally associate with Germany. But there was that mental block. You know, obviously the players, they're too young to remember that, but there's a lot of pressure on that game. And I think that win there, massive amount of confidence that'll give the lads. It'll give the whole country.
I think it's important to remember that game was a 50-50 game. There was nothing in that game.
Yes.
So for England to say, oh, we beat Germany, it was important to win, but I wouldn't say, you know, if you took the goals out, I mean, Germany had the Muller chance obviously comes from mind. They got the Havertz chance. Timo Werner as well at 0-0 when he's through and goal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these are huge chances. I mean, I know the Harry Kane chance for England, so that's probably 3 chances each that I can remember, sort of clear cut. But it wasn't like they dominated the game and they deserved. I mean, they won the game because they took the chances, and that's ultimately what it brought down to. You know what I mean?
We said before the game, we wouldn't be surprised if England got beat 3-0 or won 3-0. And that's kind of how it was. It was very cagey. I do feel like we we had a good element of control. When managers say we were in control of the game, but we got beat, kind of. Mourinho generally says that quite a lot. He says, yeah, we controlled the game, but you got beat. And it was one of those games where you could, after the game, you say, we controlled that game. Like they were within distance of us. Like we kept them at arm's reach. But equally, if they'd have scored the goals, they could have said exactly the same. So it was so
I think England's biggest I think England's biggest problem will be if they go behind in a game. I don't know if they've got enough to break a team down. Like it's a completely different game going. Getting a goal ahead and then playing, because all the teams are good teams. Now that even if you're playing Ukraine, they've got some good players. I think it's the England's issue. Ukraine probably not so much, but once they get further than that, if they go a goal behind, it's a real struggle to get back in the game. Yeah,
you're right. Because like compare England a little bit to Italy. If I can compare the two of them, we've all said that Italy is probably the most impressive team overall in the tournament so far, and the both kept relatively tight defenses like throughout the tournament. Obviously, England, I think Italy have only conceded 1. And England have conceded 0, but Italy have had that test. Like they've played well in a couple of games, then they've played not so well, and they managed to find a way to do it. Mancini's like he's managed to pull something out of the bag, and he's come up with an answer. It's right what you're saying. We haven't actually had that test yet, and that brings us on to the question that you asked earlier about the Ukraine. And I honestly think that he will change it up. And I think he'll go back to 4 at the back. And the reason I think he's going to go 4 at the back is I think he will feel that obviously we're the stronger team and we should go and impress ourselves on them. Just because we are the strongest team, it's so dangerous because there's so many times we can go back to examples in the friendlies. We can go back to Austria. We were the favourites in that game quite clearly. We can go, to the Czech Republic game. We were and Scotland. We just didn't show up though. So it's very difficult. But we obviously only went to 3-5-2 against the Germans just to match them up because they were on our level. I think he will go back to 4-3-3 just because of the players. And I think he's going to change some players out as well. You've got 4 players that are on yellow cards. So you've got Harry Maguire, you've got the 2 centre midfielders, Rice and Phillips, and you've got Phil Foden as the other yellow. So obviously they would miss the semi-final if they got into the yellow card in the next game. So I do think that Maguire will get rested. I think that maybe Mings will come back into the back 4. It's good. It's like kind of like a double. It's kind of like a dual advantage. You've got he's been out for so long. He's come in. He's done a great job. Give him a game off. And I know we're probably underestimating the Ukrainians when I'm talking like this, but that's what your squad's there for. And we can't afford not to have him against Denmark, who, in my opinion, if we get past these, are the stronger of the 2 teams. So that's my opinion on Harry Maguire. We'll move on to the midfield. Just your thoughts on the defence also.
Yeah, I think the defence has been okay, but it's not been tested. And we can know Germany still created clear-cut chances, and they should have taken at least 1. I think the bit about Maguire being rested and potentially the 2 midfielders as well.
It's a lot, isn't it? It's a spine, isn't it?
It's not even about. I think it's too early or too much to risk that. Mm-hmm. I think does he? You could play Mings, but is the fact it's Ukraine might allow him that flexibility to change to and rest players. And we say he's got a squad, but if in all honesty, there's probably about 10 players that aren't ever going to get a look in to start or play just because they're there. If we get like 2 injuries, he just doesn't trust them to start, and that's just the way it is. Sancho seems to be he does not fancy him at all, which is it's a prerogative.
Thinking of Maguire, would you take that risk? Would you take that risk against on Saturday? Yeah, and then potentially Denmark.
Yeah. I think Maguire can play a game without getting booked. That's all you're doing, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? I think the only reason you rest him is for his fitness. I don't think you can go into a game and thinking to save him from a booking. What you can do is start with him. 60 minutes in, if you're 2-0 up, you can take him off. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just managing it like that as opposed to sort of starting. I mean, if it plays and he gets booked, he misses a semi. Tyrone Mings coming for you know what I mean? They're still playing Denmark and Czech Republic. It'll be a tough game, but they're not like, Italy or Spain or, Italy or Belgium, we're a bit more smarter in the final third. I think I can't see him changing too much. I could see him bringing Henderson in for one of them two. I think one of them two will get a rest. Phillips, my thoughts about Rice anyway. Again, I don't.
While we're here, we might as well just pick our England team. You're gonna.
To be fair to you, you were one of the few people that actually got it right. You went with the 3 at the back, didn't you?
I didn't want to bring it up, but I just thought we would. We had to match them up. They got so much success through their 2 fullbacks, and just from one to the other. I was saying in the podcast, they were just constantly switching it from one to the other, and it was almost like they were skipping out everybody in between. I just thought it was the right call to do. So while we're here, we might as well go into our England team. I think we should probably start off with the untouchables. We mentioned obviously Jordan Pickford. He's under no competition whatsoever, so we might as well put him in there. So we were talking there, Maguire, Stones. So you think Maguire's going to go in? You think he's going to be?
Yeah, I think he'll keep the. I think he'll probably change the fullbacks. He'll go Maguire, Stones, and he'll probably take Maguire off. I think if they're winning comfortably.
Yeah. Do you think we'll go 4-3-3?
Yeah,
or a 4-2-3-1.
I think I agree. I think it'll go 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so I'm going to put Maguire in there. Obviously, we've got no reservations whatsoever about his partner,
Stones.
John Stones. And then we've the fullbacks, so that's interesting. Obviously, you want to keep the spine of your team very similar where possible. What do you reckon he's going to do there? Do you think there's an option for maybe Chilwell to come in, or do you think Luke Shaw?
I think I can see the Chelsea fullbacks coming in just to give him a bit of a break. You know what I mean? Get him ready for that. So like Chilwell and James. There's a chance, but again, I think he could quite easily go. The fullbacks area where he's got that much flexibility where he's going to go. Whereas if you ask me if it was a game like against a Germany, Kyle Walker is his trusted. Back, and then or Trippier as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I was thinking Chilwell. I would put Chilwell in. He's a reliable defender. Also very good going forward. Likewise with James, but I would think more along the lines of Trippier for James, just because Trippier played in the last game. I think he might have a bit more favour. But Chilwell, I would like to see him in there. But Shaw didn't play the first game. So in reality, he's only played a couple of games, but then again, he is on that diet that we're all talking about. You might need to save him further along the line. Now, the midfield is where it gets interesting because obviously we've got Rice and Phillips, and like your thoughts about Rice and my thoughts are very similar, but I can't fault how he played the other night. You could see he put everything into that. He was cramping up. He was geeing up the crowd and that, not too effective going forward. But I hate to say it, but they gave everything, 100% effort and all that Sunday League kind of talk. But they got booked very early on, and I thought, is he going to take them off? Is he going to switch them around? But they kept discipline and they did a job. But my question to you is obviously, with them both being on a yellow card, would you rest them? Would you change it around?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the players to do it. He can easily go Henderson, Bellingham, and Mount in there, as the 3. But I think he'll probably drop Rice or Phillips, and probably maybe Rice, and then go Henderson, Phillips, and Mount. I can imagine that. I can see that being the midfield. I think Mount definitely comes back in.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mason Mount is 100%. He's 100% for me for this game. There he is. And I think he'll play one of 2 of them. And I do think it'll be Phillips, because I believe that he thinks that if Phillips gets the yellow, Mason Mount can come in. Whereas I think he wants Declan Rice as his central defensive midfielder. And I just don't right. But yeah, I agree. I think Henderson and I think Bellingham will come into this game. Would you have any temptation to put maybe like a Phil Foden?
Not in midfield, like, not in the three, potentially in the forward three. Yeah, I think Grealish has got more of a chance starting than Foden has. I think it'll be a Sterling, Kane, and Grealish front three on. I think Saka did all right, but I think Saka's one of those where if you're coming in the front three, you've got to have a man of the match performance to keep your position at the moment. I think Sterling and Kane are dead certs. And then the other ones up, it's either Saka, Foden, Grealish, or Sancho. I mean Sancho's or Rashford. Then Sancho or Rashford are well out of the reckoning.
Yeah.
So it's one of Grealish, Saka, or Foden, and I think Grealish coming on doing what he did. I think Grealish probably gets the start.
Yeah, I've just realised I put Bellingham in there. I'm going to put Phillips in there. So Kane. I agree with you. Obviously, Kane's going to be up top. Sterling's definitely going to start. He's been absolutely ridiculous. I'll go back to him in a moment. But I think that it's got to be Grealish, surely, because if he's not going to start this game, he's not going to start any game. And I think with the other team, like let's say Germany, for example, there was a lot of space in behind. Ukraine are likely going to play with a low block. Obviously, they're going to come out. They were quite adventurous against Sweden, which they were probably the better team on the night. But I think there's not going to be too much space in behind. So I'm thinking, like a Foden or a Grealish, in those tight spaces. I would like to see Grealish there. But I do find it really funny how, again, we had Foden as our number one pick, in the first 11 for the England team, and how quick that's changed. He's kind of fell down the pecking order, maybe 3 or 4 places. Do you see him getting back in this team at all?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think coming off the bench, absolutely. I mean, the Ukraine game is an interesting one. If England are 2 or 3 up, that's when he'll probably use his 5 or 6 subs. Well, he will. If he don't use his 5 or 6 subs, then I don't think he ever will. But I think it's Foden's got a big part to play in England's. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? I say he's still a brilliant footballer. So it's just the fact that he's trust Sterling and Kane that they're there. You know what I mean? And there's only one position available. I mean, Grealish. It's a tough one, Grealish or Foden. Then you got Saka or Sancho as well. It's just he's just got an embarrassment of riches, but it's just tough at the moment. And any decision he makes isn't going to be a bad one from them. You literally can't have a bad choice.
You can't have a choice, like you say. You got 5 substitutions, change half the team. It's an enviable situation we're in comparatively to
previous
tournaments. Yeah. But just I'll give you the final decision on who do you think is going to go in that position there.
I think Grealish probably because he's because what he did off the bench on Tuesday.
Yeah, again, I think if he doesn't start this, he's never going to start any game. So yeah. That's our team.
As always, let us know, guys, if you think you agree with it, disagree with it, any changes you'd make. Who you think, if you think Henderson won't be playing, he's going to score with Phillips and Rice, or if you think the fullback's nowhere near it, he's going to stick to his tried and trusted, or even if he's going to drop Maguire or rest Maguire and put Mings in just to save him and not risk the second yellow.
Just obviously moving on to the Ukrainians. We know of Zinchenko, Yarmolenko. Is there any other threats that you?
The best player, I'd probably say Malinovsky, plays for Atlanta. Really good left foot. So Atlanta have had some top players in this. Atlanta have got some really good players, but a lot of their players seem to have shone in this tournament. So I'll just run you through. So you've obviously got Malinovsky, who's doing well. You've got Mailer, the Danish fullback, left wing back, who's done really well. You've got Gosens as well at Germany. So these players have just really come to the fore and played really well. So just Atlanta have got some top players. But yeah, Malinovsky's gonna be one. Obviously, there's Martin de Roon as well at Holland, who's an Atlanta player. But they seem to be well represented in the Euros.
Yeah. I was just wondering if anyone surprised you so far in this England team. Anyone like?
Yeah, Pickford, and I'll say Pickford because he's one of those players that plays better for his country than he does for his club. You look at his club form, and he shouldn't be anywhere near an England team. But Southgate trusts him, and he's one of his go-to men, and he'll always pick him if he's fit, pretty much. And you can't really knock him, because at international level, he's a better keeper. He's a good keeper at international level. Not like I say, I just don't think the Pickford for his club compared to the Pickford for his country, two different players. He's actually really, I always thought when there was a debate about whether he should start be number one, but in Southgate said there's never been a debate. He's always been his number one.
I was just thinking about how fickle football fans are, especially when you watch a national team. We're obviously avid Liverpool fans, and you can't imagine cheering Jordan Pickford the way that I was the other night when he was pulling off these saves. Now I'm calling them all by nicknames. Obviously we've got Slaved at the back. I'm like, oh, that's Slaved. Raheem Sterling. He's kind of the player that I want to kind of almost finish on. Again, as Liverpool fans, we associate him with a bit of a Judas, but you can't help but recognise the amount of stick that he's taken. He hasn't played amazingly well, but he's been for me, obviously he's been one of the standout players, and he's just answering his critics left, right, and centre. But I just still feel that he doesn't get the gratitude, I want to say.
Appreciation
looking on the headlines, I saw a compilation of all of the papers, and there was only one newspaper that had Raheem Sterling on the front, and I won't say the name because I think everybody knows who they are when you say that. It was Harry Kane on the rest of the.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, and I've seen some of the same stuff as well. But I think it's important, and we can't flirt around it, and we won't flirt around it. The fact that Sterling's had unfair criticism is the nicest possible way you can put it. It's just been blatant racism, and it's been going on for years. So for him, and especially after, if it weren't for Sterling, England would not be where they are today. In the time, they'd be at home, but he still doesn't get the credit. He deserves more respect. He should be knighted. He should be called Sir Raheem Sterling after what he's done. The news, and we're talking about the same newspaper. The stuff that they've put up previously. I saw a compilation of something had put up. There was one with Sterling 5 years ago after what he'd done, and he'd been knocked out on what he bought his kid a bling, or his parents a bling house or something, and then he's come after this, now, and they're saying, oh yeah, he's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Soccer world. And then linked to that as well, you want to boo these lads taking the knee, but then as soon as they're scoring, you're cheering. I think you can't have it both ways, and I think the hypocrisy, the horrible, disgusting undertone of racism that's within the media is just they don't deserve these players. They don't deserve the victory. They shouldn't be. And it just really, really fucking boils my piss. And it just makes me really angry. And I just think people, they've got to see through it. And even, it goes through from the top, doesn't it? It comes. It's just horrible, and it's not nice, because these lads have still got to go and perform, and to say more, they've got to be professional. No, fuck that. They're still people, man. If you've not been abused, you do not understand. Being professional, you're human. Forget everything. They're human beings. They're playing it. These players, these lads have been in a biosecure bubble for the last however long. They've got nothing to do apart from go on social media and watch the news, and not news, sorry, the matches on the TV, and Gary Neville and Roy Keane talk about stuff. Do you know what I mean? So they take everything in what people put out there. So it's important we treat these players with respect, regardless of if they win or not, or what happens. But they're doing a lot for uniting the country. We talk about Tuesday night being a prime example. However, Saturday nights will be exactly the same. These are the moments in life that you remember, you cherish. You get your family together. The results. If they win, it's an amazing moment in your family's life, and together you can cheer, you can hug, and all that. We've not had this for the last 18 months. We've not had it normally when England play anyway. But the ability to do this together, I think, it's important that we recognise what these players do. But they fucking deserve respect, and they absolutely do not deserve to be vilified by horrible, cancerous newspapers.
Absolutely. couldn't have said it better myself. Again, with Jordan Henderson, he tweeted out a supporter who went to the game and, saying basically that everyone should be able to enjoy the game. And, it does make you proud that, certain players are standing up now more than ever. But particularly Rashford Sterling with the stick that he has. It's time to put respect on his name, so to speak. But lastly, just moving on to the Ukraine game itself. I'm not gonna. Actually, yeah, I am. I'm gonna ask you for predictions. I read some stats earlier, and England have played Ukraine 7 times, with Ukrainians only beating England once. They've scored 3 goals in 7 games, and only ever scored, obviously, a maximum of 1 in each of those games. So, with that information,
I always think these stats from previous games are completely irrelevant in a game like this. It makes zero difference what you've done.
It doesn't.
Do you know what
absolutely.
I mean? I think we've seen enough games over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks to know that nations.
It's going to be 5-4, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever it is, and I think it's going to be another tight game because England haven't done anything. They haven't blown anyone away. Ukraine are a good side. I think they won't be where they are. They beat Sweden. They've gave Holland a hell of a run as well. They should have probably beat Holland, but they just weren't smart enough in the right times. And they have got players that can hurt them, that can hurt England. And the other thing, which I don't think people seem to appreciate, is this is the first time England are playing not at Wembley. They're going to Rome to play the game. The fans probably will be more Ukrainian than they will be English. So I think that's something to be careful and wary of, how many fans they allowed in. I know the Italian embassy said they're not going to allow English fans in because of the rising cases in England. So I think there's quite a few unknowns on Saturday, and it's not going to be a walkover like everyone thinks. Everyone thinks that England in the final. They're not, and I'd imagine France probably thought the same, and a few of the other big nations thought the same. You cannot predict it, and these teams are still good teams. So prediction, I think England, but really close and tight.
Yeah. So your prediction for the England versus Germany game was a tight England win on penalties. I went with a 3-1 comfortable win. I think we were both quite far off. But I think this one, I agree. I think it's going to go to extra time, and I think we're going to win in extra time. I think it's going to be 2-1. Harry Kane, 2 goals. How specific do you want to be?
King Kane is back. Then they can fucking stick his picture all over the front of the newspapers if he actually does do that.
Absolutely.
But at the moment, you need to be bowing down to King Sir Raheem Sterling.
100%. Again, if you agree, disagree, any of your predictions, just put them down below. And obviously, as we always say, if you're still here, you've got to like us. You've got to subscribe. Come on, guys. Get us to that 100.
We're nearly there. Just get us to that 100. We might even throw a giveaway. We have got a giveaway planned when the season when the Euros finish. But we know if you get us to 100 before then, you never know. Might throw something in there. Just to let you all know, we are also on Google Podcasts as well. So it's not just on YouTube. I know we've got quite a few of the regulars who listen and do send me WhatsApp messages about stuff we talk about, agree, disagree. So it's good. Keep feeding back. We do appreciate it, and we do try to take it on board. And look, I even got a new mic. Callum, I did listen to you. Look what I did. I got myself a new mic, didn't I? You want to get that audio better? If it ain't better now, we're giving up.
Yeah, so obviously that's the England preview out the way. But there is actually other stuff going on in the background at the moment. And that is obviously the transfer window is opened. Obviously, Lionel Messi's a free agent at the moment. I wouldn't like to be his agent taking on the inquiries today, or his assistant. I think Callum's Discord FIFA team, they've put an inquiry in. Redcar Athletic down the road, they've put an inquiry in. Seafront, lemon tops, fish and chips. That's all got to offer him in reality. What about yourselves? St. Bede's put in an offer?
We have, yeah. I'm just trying to get the secretary to pass it. He won't budge from Messi having to pay £5 subs. I'm like, come on, you got to I'll cover the subs. Just get him to play. Tell him we're playing on a 3G. What else does he want? But yeah, I think that the language barrier as well might be an issue. Don't think they understand broad Yorkshire the Argentinian lads.
So yeah, obviously Messi's now the free agent. Do you think he's going to stay at Barcelona, or do you think it's likely to
Yeah,
move on?
I think he's going to stay. There's a few players that they say they're out. That obviously it goes to 1st of July and the free agents, but there's been enough conversations and talk going on in the background to keep him. I think he stays. I don't think Aguero would have gone to Barcelona if Messi wasn't staying. There's a few that there's not been as much furore as there was last year when Messi was going to go to Man City. But yeah, there's a few that are. I think Donnarumma's going to PSG, but is he actually a free transfer at the moment? Still, I saw a list of free transfers. Sergio Ramos is another one who's a free transfer.
Yeah, there was a brilliant list, and
there's
PSG
Josh
looked
King,
like they're making moves.
Yeah, Mate, Josh King. There's quite a few players that are currently on freeze.
Mbappe as well. He's in his last season as well.
I don't know how much. How strong the source is, but I did see something on social media today about him telling the PSG hierarchy that this will be his last year, and he's got no intention of signing up. So whether they look to get rid of him this year to pick up 100 million or let him run down his contract and he gets the biggest signing on fee in the history of football, what I mean? I don't know if he's doing that on the back of missing the penalty that knocked France out, but we are where we are. Just obviously the transfers are where they are at the moment, but one of the other major movements at the moment is the managerial merry-go-round. There's obviously the main two. Rafa Benitez gone to Everton, which is monumental, and that's the one I want opinions from you from. And there's obviously Nuno Espirito de Santos has gone to Spurs. They're the two major ones in the Premier. And Vieira going to Palace as well. I think that's going to be pretty much so. That's the last I heard. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but there was strong sort of Vieira and Palace were after him, and it seemed to be going places. So I just want to sort of start with the Benitez one to Everton. We're Liverpool fans. Thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely like most Liverpool fans love Benitez. I think he's a great man. He was the right manager at the wrong time. Especially when Gillette and Hicks were around. They're almost like that newspaper. I daren't say their name too often. I just have a feel that they're going to come back. He was perfect for us at that time. I don't think any manager could have come in and did what he did. Initially, I think what was he with us 6 months? He was like Tuchel, came in, won the Champions League, and then he managed to keep Steven Gerrard, tactically brilliant, and he was my favourite manager up until obviously Jurgen Klopp came along. But would I have been devastated if at some point Jurgen Klopp had left and he came back to Liverpool? Absolutely not. With a budget, people will argue that the game has moved on quite a bit, but I don't think many Liverpool fans would have been disappointed that he comes back. So that leads me on to Everton. They're kind of still, well, I'm kind of being nice with them at the moment. They're still in our shadow, effectively. They've got richer owners than us. They brought in Ancelotti, which was an amazing appointment. And now they see that as a step down with Rafa Benitez, but he's a top quality manager, even where he is at the moment. And I just can't believe the amount of hate that he's getting. And I know it's down to, the Liverpool links, but if you put that aside, you've got one hell of a manager. And I'm just so happy for him on a personal level, because obviously his family are in Liverpool. He loves the city, everything that he's done for the city. You think of all the Hillsborough instances where he's been there, spoke on it numerous times. He just fell in love with the city, not just the club, the city. So for me, I think the minority of the thugs that are targeting him, leaving banners around saying, "We know where you live," and it is the minority. Again, like Sterling, they need to put some respect on his name, because I think he will do good things for them. All it's going to take is a victory at Liverpool. It's something as simple as that can change.
I think top manager. I think the fact is on whoever. I've got nothing bad to say to him. I think obviously his family lives there. He's obviously thought long and hard about it. I think the issue will come, the pressure will come on the owners if he has a bad start. at Everton, that's when it'll come out, oh, he's an ex-Liverpool manager, we never wanted him anyway. Just the normal shit, you know what I mean? And I think that's when he's going to have to be tough. But Rafa's a tough manager, you know what I mean? It won't be him. It'll be the owners if they can do it. I mean, this is a manager who's won the Champions League, man. Come on, he's won the La Liga. He's brought the Barcelona, Real Madrid thing. He was close. You know, if he had the investment Liverpool about, you know, not when he was there, they'd have won the league. Do you know what I mean? It's just he's a phenomenally top manager. Even what he did at Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? Getting him back.
You feel like he's never been fully backed. And you know,
and
he's got the owners now. Yeah, he's got the owners now where, you know, they've got the clout to actually do that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I do think there could be a dangerous team to play. I think he will not be like Newcastle where he's overly defensive. He's got a team that can go toe to toe with most teams. He's got the personnel there. He's obviously, if you go through his team, he's obviously got Pickford in goal. I think midfield's good. Ducoré and Allen, I think, are good. He's got Calvert-Lewin up top. I think there's Richarlison. There's, you know, so the bodies, the players that he's got there, they are good. It's going to be an interesting. You look through the team; they've got probably about 8 or 9 really good players. You know, you think, yeah. So he probably just needs 2 or 3 new players just to sort of top it up, and away he goes. But yeah, no, I think as a Liverpool fan, I've got nothing but love for him, and I've got no issue with him being there. Obviously, if it goes to the end of the season and he does something that costs Liverpool the title, I will lose my shit. But up until then, Rafa Benitez, yeah, there's a song, and I can imagine the Evertonians taking it up as well. I think if he went to Man United, that would be the only club where I wouldn't forgive him.
I still feel like, you know, let's say he's going to come to Anfield at some point this season. And the fans are still going to sing his name, in my opinion. They're still, you know, he's got that affinity with the crowd. I just beg of you, Rafa, if you're listening, don't respond.
Yeah,
it's just, don't wave at the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, don't blow any kisses or anything like that. Just keep it as you will, and keep it as I know you will. Like you say, he's an ultimate professional. Doesn't let anyone sway his decisions, and I wish him the best, like you say. But as long as it's not at the detriment of Liverpool.
So, swiftly moving on.
Swiftly moving on to Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
Jadon Sancho is obviously the transfer that's been rumbling on for absolutely ages, and it's finally came. And all I can think about is my Football Index shares. You know, I must have had about 2,000 shares in this guy.
Oh wow! I think it'd be time to retire.
Today would have been a good day. Your thoughts on Jadon Sancho joining United?
Yeah, I mean, it was going to happen. When you know, they've obviously they had like a year left, so they were not, you know, they were going to get him. But to be fair to Man United, they've actually looks like they've finally got it. It took them 2 years to do something, but they finally got the man, as is Ed Woodward's way. But I don't know. Does he? You know, what's he going to be like in the Premier League? It's going to be a really interesting transition for him to come back. You know, he'll obviously have his mates and stuff. He can speak the language, which is fine. He's obviously going to. I mean, Man United have had a weakness down that side of the pitch anyway, so they needed a right-sided front player. So him coming in will help them. It's going to be, it'll be interesting now. And I'm thinking, I think he obviously wanted everyone to come back home as well. So that I think the transfer has been agreed, and it's so all roads lead to Sancho being smashed into everyone's fantasy football team. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I've got to admit, it was a signing where, you know, you kind of set up and you're like, right, okay, that's a good signing.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he's got to come back into the league. He's got to slightly adjust to it, and you know, he has been getting a couple of niggling injuries, but you know, in between those periods, he's been excellent for Dortmund. And you know, I just hope he doesn't hit the ground running on a personal level. But yeah, it looks like they're making some moves, especially, you know, like they're talking about Varane as well.
I've seen that. Yeah, Rafael Varane. That'd be a hell of a buy. That.
Varane in there, and then maybe you know, if they can get a central defensive midfielder again. Talking about Rice, I hope they get him, because you know, I personally think it's not much of a difference from McTominay. But
yeah. Agreed.
You think they're making good moves?
Yeah, no, I think they are. I think they've still got quite a few average players. I still think they're short when it comes to Liverpool, Man City, and even Chelsea, I'd say. It comes down to Solskjaer, and when it comes to those crunch games, we said it before, we said they'll do all right, against when it comes to those crunch games, whether it's a semi-final or a final or a game they've got to win, they just seem to crumble, and that's not play, that's just mentality, and it comes mentality and culture is instilled from the manager. I just don't think he's just a bit short for me.
It kind of echoes England ever so slightly. When it comes down to the final, that's when we'll learn everything. Semi-final or final about Southgate.
Yeah. And again, I saw an interesting stat today. The last time, I've got a question for you, and I don't think you'll know. When was the last time England won a football match when they were the underdogs in a knockout game in football? When was the last time they won a game when they were underdogs?
You're talking... I couldn't tell you.
Argentina 2002. That's the last time England won a game when they were underdogs in a knockout. So every game they've won since then, they were expected to win because they were favourites.
Was that David Beckham penalty?
I believe so, yeah. So that's the last time England won a game when they were underdogs. Every time they've been up against a team when the other team have been favourites, they've crumbled. So Germany game, they were favourites because they were at home. Germany are pretty poor. So we've got to keep everything in context and think where England are. So they haven't pulled up any trees yet. It's not, Southgate's not doing anything that any other manager shouldn't really do. Do you know what I mean? So it's just where England are at the moment. So they've still got to do it. They've got to prove it. But yeah, just going back to the old Sancho, Solskjaer thing, I think, top signing, but you've got to sort of see how they settle and how they do.
Yeah. PSG look like they're making some good moves. Obviously, we spoke earlier with the Donnarumma signing. They got Gini Wijnaldum quite early on. Now they're getting Sergio Ramos in there. So
Sergio Ramos, is that confirmed?
Yeah, just before we came on, it looks like they've almost agreed a 2-year fee. A 2-year deal with them.
They will be strong favourites strong team for the Champions League next year. If you just look at their backline of Donnarumma, Ramos, Marquinhos, Wijnaldum in midfield with Verratti. Oh wow, Mbappe, Neymar. Do you know what I mean? So I just suddenly think it's not just Mbappe and Neymar. Now Pochettino's got a team. He's got winners, Champions League winners. You know what I mean? Leaders. Yeah. I think. And also,
he can afford, with Ramos, he spent a lot of the last season injured. Not as punishing the league as like let's say the Liga. So it's a case of maybe you can pick and choose Ramos's games for these. So like you said, it's massive for them.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's a huge signing. That I didn't know that. But that's a great one. Just one final point before we wrap it up. I know we're going on a bit here. Is the Nuno Espirito Santos to Spurs? They've had about 3 managers that have turned him down. What are your thoughts on three that we know of anyway?
I thought you'd been asked at one point.
I know, yeah. I said no. Levy said to me, I've got to pay my subs. So no. So your thoughts? Do you think he'll do well? How do you reckon?
Yeah, I like him. I do like him. Obviously, he kind of fell away towards the end with Wolves. They weren't scoring too many goals, and that obviously goes down to the striker. He had his best. Yeah, exactly. He had Jimenez out for a long period, so they weren't scoring goals. But I generally like the way that they play. I like the style of football. He's obviously going into a team with superior players, and I think he can do a lot with them. I do think he's been brought in. You tend to think of the top managers when they come in. You think they're going to have like a war chest. They're going to have a lot of money to spend. I don't think he's going to have a great deal of money to spend. This is the type of inexperienced managers compared to the rest of them at top clubs, where I don't feel like he's going to get too much of a backing. But I do think he'll do well with what he has. What yourself?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think he knows, and we all know he wasn't first choice. He's ended up going, we're getting knocked back by Conte, we got knocked back by Fonseca, we got knocked back by Gattuso. Whether they got knocked back or they didn't work out, well, they're just the three I can think of that didn't work out. So they've got a Nuno. Nuno's a good manager. I like him at Spurs. I think you sometimes get to a time in football, and I think it was Guardiola, Guardiola or a top manager said it. No, it was Ancelotti actually. There's a cycle in football for 3 years. You can stay at a club and then your voice sort of gets a bit boring for the players. So him at Wolves, I think probably made a good time for him to move on. I think he's a good man. I think tactically he's really sound. The question I'd be really interested to see how he plays at Spurs. Does he play with a back three and then wing backs, or does he go back to, does he play with a four at the back? I think that's where he's obviously take his whole backroom staff across with him. I'm interested to know how they play, but he does play front foot, progressive football, and obviously going to step up from Wolves. I think he's a good appointment for Wolves. Who else were they going to have? Ryan Mason, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think I'd be interested to see how. I'd be really keen to see and interested to see how that works out. But I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so as always, your thoughts down below with regards to the transfers, with managerial merry-go-round. Big Sam is still out of a job. Thoughts on that also while you're there. Yeah, it's been great having you as always. If you're here right now, make sure you click the like button, click the subscribe, and join the BTB army. That'd be great. Anything from you, Ty, before we go?
No, brilliant. Just that. Let's just hope the great good feel good factor that we're slowly getting back to 2018 levels continues, and show some respect to Raheem. With that, guys, it's a bye for me, and see you on the other side.
See you later, guys.